Welcome back. This is the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneider, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato. And today we got a special guest on the podcast. Our boy Daniel Bellinger, tight end of the New York Giants, is joining us for the show. So first of all, Daniel, how you doing today? I know you're down at tight end U, so how's things going over there?
It's good, man. It's hot out here, but it's a lot of fun, and it's definitely a lot of good work.
All right, Daniel, we're going to get into talking about your blocking because we're huge fans on this podcast of how you block. And most rookie tight ends, they kind of struggle to hold up at the point of attack. And Dan and I talk about Mike Mayock saying, we just want our tight ends to lose slow enough. And for whatever reason, Daniel, you don't lose slow enough. You're not a mediocre blocker. You're very impressive. So can you walk us through your process as a blocker in base situations? What are your aiming points? What is your mental process? And do you love blocking as much as it looks like you do on tape?
I appreciate you saying that. First off, it's definitely a tough thing coming in as a rookie, seeing these DNs that are, just elite athletes. And for me, I've always loved blocking. I feel like, coming into high school, even just coming in and being able to put my hand in the dirt, to me, it always felt like real football. And so it was always kind of like a pride thing to be able to block and be able to block efficiently. That's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned, especially from guys like George and those guys that are this elite blockers, is it's not so much like can I base drive a guy that's 295 pounds, 5 yards. It's more, can I block efficiently enough to not just be effective on my block, but be effective for, Saquon or the offensive scheme. So I definitely love blocking. It's a physical standpoint that to me defines football almost, because, you need those guys in the trenches, whether it's the O-linemen, the tight ends. And I feel like it's just so important to the game, and it's important to any scheme, because if you can run the ball, then it opens up everything else, right? So I love blocking, and my mindset on blocking is just kind of that. To me, I call it the Kittle mindset, just blocking efficiently, and it's taking the right footwork, and obviously depending on the play, whether power or power gap scheme, outside zone, inside zone, kind of just making sure I take the right steps and getting the right 6-inch steps on a guy, and really. I feel like, and this is something I got from Lee Smith, really it comes down to, like, even if I have the wrong leverage or I take the wrong footwork or my hands aren't quite where they need to be, it comes down to just getting in a fight with a guy and being able to not just stand your ground, but be able to win that fight. And, sometimes I just need to win the fight for half a second, and then the running backs pass me. So just kind of be able to just get in there and fight with the guy and compete is probably my favorite part about football, and I feel like that just defines blocking. So.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it on tape, man. We saw that very early on, and we tried to bring that to the listeners early. You mentioned George, who I know you're learning down, and that's George Kittle, who I know you're learning down a little bit from or working with at tight end U. I was doing a little research before this podcast, listening to a couple pods that George himself was on, talking a little bit about tight end U, and he mentioned things like they're bringing in Jordan Reed to teach releases, which I thought was really cool, because before the injuries, Jordan Reed to me was probably the best in the game at just getting open at the tight end position quickly. What's kind of your biggest takeaway from your experience down there so far?
Yeah, that was definitely one of them. Reed came in and discussed the releases, and then of course Gronk came in and talked about yak and what to do with the ball in your hand, and then Kelsey went over his routes and Kittle with the run game. And my biggest takeaway from it all was just how obsessed with football these guys were, almost. And it's just like I feel I have that like same obsession where it's like not only do I want to know like how these guys are doing it, but I kind of want to put my own kind of twist on it and be able to use what they're telling me and teach like whatever they're teaching me and kind of take it into my game and then kind of mold it in a way that I can make it my own almost, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I took away that the obsession from these guys and how how motivated they were to just, because they're at the top of the game, right? These are the best of the best, and especially Jordan Reed when he was healthy, and it was just like learning from these guys. It fuels me to be obsessed with my craft as well.
Daniel, I want to ask you about a play in Week 5 against the Green Bay Packers. You scored a rushing touchdown on a variation of the Philly special. Daniel, what was going through your mind when Saquon pitched the football to you? And was that a specific game plan type of play? And how close were you to throwing the football to Daniel Jones there?
Yeah, so we had worked on that play all through camp and OTAs the previous year, and it was something that Dave likes to have fun with. He did it in Buffalo with Dawson Knox before, and so when they first showed me that play on film, I was like, oh, I can do this. I was a quarterback way back when, so I could do it. So we practiced it a bunch, and Honestly, like we practiced every week, so it's just kind of one of those things where I wasn't sure if it was going to get called this week. I'm not sure if it'll get called, the end of the season, if we're ever even going to call it this season. And I remember just getting down to the goal line, and it was like if we were by like the 5 yard line or whatever it was, we're going to call the play. And so we finally got down there, and then in my head I was just like, are we going to call it? So we get the huddle, and my coach is looking at me with a big smile on his face. I'm like, all right, here we go. Here he's gonna call the play, and he called it. The play was the Bellinger Special, the play call for it, and I was all right. Here we go. And I was nervous at first because it was like, I mean, it works in practice. I've seen Buffalo run it, and it worked very well. So I'm like, hopefully it works just as well as it did then. So we snap it. DJ tossed it to Saquon. Saquon tossed it to me, and the full play is I'm supposed to throw it to DJ. So the whole time I'm looking to throw it, like I'm getting ready to throw it, and then I just remember Dave's in the back of my head just yelling at me. He's like, "Just be smart with it. Just be smart with it. If DJ's not there, just run it." And it was like, if I had the accuracy and arm power of DJ, I would have thrown it. But in my head, I'm like, I'm not even gonna risk it. So I just little hole and just took it, and it was awesome, man. I've even like rewatching it. I believe Tanner Hudson like snuck out, and he was open. Like I could have thrown it to him as well, and I was just like, listen. And so I saw DJ covered, and I was like, I'm gonna be smart with it. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool moment for us as Giants fans as well. I mean, we felt like we were there already based on kind of week 1 and week 2, where we had like that Panthers touchdown where you kind of were wide open anyway on that one, the open Myrick touchdown. But you could tell there was a difference in the red zone play calling that moment.
Oh, yeah.
So from our outside perspective, I would say that it honestly does feel like Brian Dable and Mike Kafka give the Giants a weekly edge as both play designers and play callers. So, but from your perspective as a player, what kind of makes them so unique and effective in their play design and their play calling? And you maybe have one specific memory of one play call last season that was called, it worked as planned, and you just kind of, it stood out to you and you just kind of like threw your hands up at how impressive it was.
Yeah, these guys every single day at practice, like we'll have a script, and we'll have a script of what we're gonna run and everything like that, and then we'll come out and Dave's will just toss the script and he'll just start calling stuff off the top of his head, and it's funny because it's like it gets everybody kind of nervous, and it's like, all right, now I need to focus and make sure I need to know my job and obviously the whole concept of the play, but Dave's just kind of he's a creative mind, him and Kafka kind of just working together, and the stuff they come up with, it's like. It's funny because we had I think the Chiefs ran it where they had like a huddle where they run around in a circle. We had that in back in OTAs last year, and it was just like the first time we ran, I was like, what is this? And you see like the Chiefs running, and it's like these creative minds. It's insane to me because I never had like an offensive minded coach before. I've always had defensive head coach and stuff like that. So being able to kind of just see how he develops plays, especially just on the fly, and how he can kind of get creative with the play, just sitting there thinking like, all right, you motion here, Saquon, you get in the backfield, and you guys do what you need to do. And then he's just, I don't know, his creative mind is something that I think is awesome. And him and Kafka together, it's exciting because you'll never have like a dull play. There's always be like, obviously you have your base plays, but just the way he can create a mind or create a play with his mind right on the bat is something that's pretty creative, pretty amazing.
All the Giant fans are very grateful for that. But Daniel, your block effectiveness, it wasn't just limited to what you could do in the trenches on the line of scrimmage. You were frequently used on wham blocks, cut blocks. You were the primary blocking tight end and duo from the fullback position. In a variety of different ways, your ability to block was employed. Do you have a specific play in mind where you made a block you were most proud of?
My favorite blocks are the cut blocks. That's something I actually need to improve on a little bit because I get too low. But my favorite block is probably against the Colts when I had to go cut DeForest Buckner, and Saquon I think went out to the left side for a nice big run, and it was just fun because you see those huge D tackles, and DeForest Buckner is a big human being. So in my head it's like, man, how am I can't block this guy straight up. And so all week we're practicing, and I think the play we had was called Billy Cut. So the whole purpose was for me to just go down and cut him and make him think twice about rushing up the field. And then it's just a lot of fun because I can just go out there and just cut a guy and completely legal, and we get a big everybody juiced up.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome to see as well from our end. And I feel like, honestly, Daniel, tight ends these days are just asked to do a lot more than they were even like just 30 years ago. I mean, I think we started to see it a little bit with Belichick and Josh McDaniel back in the past with Gronk when they would line him up on the outside and those 3-by-1 sets. And we obviously have seen, a lot of teams copy that. But one of the coolest things we saw with the Giants and you last year was when they lined you up at fullback. I think it was first in the Bears game, if I remember, and then a couple times later in the season with the Vikings and Colts games where they hit you for those big plays. So how does that come about for like a tight end to line up at fullback? Is that something that's installed early on and then they use it and then, they call it later in the year? What gives them kind of the confidence that they know they can use you in that way?
Yeah, they get kind of creative. Our O line coach, OG Bobby Johnson. He's kind of creative in that aspect where we have the base play, the base wham play, the base split zone schemes and stuff like that, and then it's like as we get going, we know that defenses are going to try to key on us and key where we line up and stuff like that, and so I feel like they do a good job of moving us around but keeping the same concept, and I think it's important that like a guy like me that can get into the backfield and still create the same effect on the block. Just because the defense isn't sure what I'm going to do now. Like I know there's a few plays where I'm coming through to block the linebacker on like a counter scheme, and then the next play I'm slipping past the linebacker to get a ball down the sideline, and it's just exciting because it's now the linebacker's not sure what I'm going to do, right? So now it gives me the chance to just go light him up when I have the chance, or to just slip him for a nice easy completion. And to me, it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, it gives us kind of a competitive advantage when we can create those kind of different looks.
Daniel, what is your favorite moment or your favorite game so far through your young career with the New York Giants?
Favorite game, probably the Packers for sure. Just because it was like going into it, it felt like a Packers home game. Like I felt like there was a lot of Packer fans, and it was just like no one was really like everybody was still disrespecting us and all that stuff, and it just felt like we were going in and no one kind of expected us to win. And then we kind of fought throughout the game, and I think we went down early, and we had to fight back and climb back, and I feel like that game kind of showed our resiliency. I know we showed it with like the Titans and stuff week one, but it kind of just helped us kind of prove to ourselves that we can't like we're a team that can push through adverse times, no matter what it is. And obviously a lot of fun plays with the Bellinger Special, but it was just I felt like it was a game that showed our resiliency, and it was a lot of fun to win that one.
Yeah, that was an awesome game. I mean, like you said, everyone count out the Giants. I think you mentioned the resiliency. There was a 90-yard drive in there where Saquon had to come off the field and Jones led it anyway. It was just awesome to see. I want to talk a little bit football theory with you for a second here, Daniel. So one theory I've kind of always had, but it's hard to quantify the importance of, so I'm going to try to get your take on, is the importance of a rapport between the quarterback and a receiver. So how were you able to establish that chemistry with Jones so early in your rookie season? And in your mind, how important is it for a quarterback and a receiver to be able to see the coverage the same post snap?
I would say very important. DJ he's done a great job, not with just with myself, but with all the guys, and he takes us to like Arizona and North Carolina and stuff like that to just to get together and get to know us. And I think that's kind of what I admire about DJ the most is he gets to know you as a person first, and he gets to kind of get together with you and be like, all right, what do you like, what do you not like want to hang out, go to dinner, and we actually went to dinner as an offense every week last year before games. And it was nice to kind of connect with these guys outside of football. But I think in turn helped us a lot in the film, in the rooms when we're sitting together and we're discussing because usually we'll ask DJ like, what did you see here, and then we have a lot of different choice routes and option routes that are opening up for us. So it's like he wants to see, all right, well, how do we feel when a defender pushes out to us? Like, what are we thinking when this linebacker walls us off here? And it's just like being able to communicate with them. I feel like first started with our relationship off the field, and then it continued in the film room because we got to know each other a little bit better than just football. So I think it's very important. And all the best. Brady, Gronk, Mahomes and Kelsey, like all the best. Like they have this good relationship with their quarterback, and I feel like it's just so important to be on the same page with the quarterback. And I think Daniel Jones does this amazing job getting to know us as people, and then being able to pick our brains so we can be on the same page.
Definitely seems like you guys have an excellent rapport. And it also appears, Daniel, that you have a keen sense of spatial awareness. just reading leverage and sitting when it's appropriate to give Jones an easier target. On inside breaking routes, when you guys were aligned, boundary stack, something we saw a lot late last season. What were your keys to sit after, say, like a soft break to the inside? And what were your indicators to continue the route across the field? Was it as simple as just man versus zone coverage? Because this is something we saw a lot towards the end of the season, and I really feel like it helped the 11 personnel quick hitting passing attack.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is that easy. We'll have our emotions. We'll be able to get that man or zone indicator. And so knowing that if it's going to be zone, that more than likely just need to find that space, and then man, put a little more sauce on the route. But for me, it was more or less just reading the linebackers. Obviously seeing the safeties show and seeing how they rotate and everything like that. But a lot of times it was just like talking to DJ on the sideline and being like, DJ, like on this play, like I know if this backer drops out, like I'm not even gonna get to my death. I'm just gonna sit in the zone and just be there for you and put my hands up. And then same thing DJ would do with us. He'd be like, if that guy drops back, just get over there right now. Like don't even worry about it. Just get over there and we'll get the ball to you. And so I feel like just that communication off the field was huge. And then just reading the linebackers and the safeties and then sometimes it was just that simple, just getting the man zone read and being able to find that space to just create more comfortable, like I would say comfortable like awareness for DJ, just understanding where we're at, and so he knows where we're going to be at instead of tricking him and then getting picked off or something like that. So just that communication, I feel like is the most important part of the end of the season.
I got one more for you, Daniel, and kind of what has been referred to, at least in the media and just among fans, as like a more difficult aspect of the Giants offense. We've heard this passing game with the choice routes, and it's a little bit more difficult to pick up. For you, coming from SDSU and then from high school, was it harder for you to pick up this offense? Because it really didn't feel like it. Felt like you hit the ground running. I believe you played like 72% of the snaps last year. That's with the injury. Your snap rate for among rookie tight ends is through the roof versus history. So it's kind of like feels like it wasn't that hard for you, but was it? And you kind of just didn't show it. And then do you have like a favorite play call in the offense?
So I mean, coming in, it was definitely different. Just the kind of concepts that we had, and we had different like one word plays that define the whole play and the concept. And for me, it was definitely a struggle at first, just because we had in college we had like hand signals, and we had the full play call, and so it was just like, all right, I know exactly where to line up, and I know what that guy's got over there, and what this guy's got, and everything like that. And then coming here with just one word, it was like, okay, how can I not just know my job and where I need to line up, but now I need to know that guy and this guy and how it all kind of plays out. And so at first it was a struggle, but I think that was what Coach Bish helped me with the most. Coach Andy Bischoff, he sat down with me, spent the extra time with me, sat down and watched the film with me, and we got a good relationship going just because he always took the extra step to make sure I knew what I needed to do, not just to be able to play more confident and be more comfortable out there, but that I can actually excel more out there. And so I feel like he helped me a lot as the season went on. And it was a struggle. I mean, during the preseason, it was definitely tough trying to not only now know the whole scheme, but playing at game speed. I feel like the first couple preseason games, it was a rough little patch. But then once we got into the regular season, I definitely felt more comfortable because I was kind of just thrown in there. When we first came in as rookies, it was like you're going to be thrown into a fire hose and you just got to learn how to drink from it. And so it was, I think Coach Dave, was definitely hard on guys like me, Wandell, really the whole offense, just because it was kind of new for everybody. But just them being hard on us to a point where we knew where we needed to get better at. And I feel like that's kind of what helped me the most and kind of helped me as we went into the season. And then favorite play, my favorite play is definitely, like I said, is when I get the flashback across and cut those guys. It's kind of a basic play, but I like it a lot just because a lot of times the defense isn't sure if I'm going to cut them, or the one time where I slip past them on the Carolina play where it's like they're not sure if I'm going to slip past them, I'm going to cut them, I'm going to hit them. So it's just fun just because if it's executed right, then the defense just is on their toes and they're guessing the whole game, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, on the Carolina play, they really had no option. Either they take you or they leave Jones open for the run. It was either way you lose.
Yeah, I'll take that all day.
I do love that in true fashion, as most would expect from listening to this. Your favorite play that you brought up was a play where you're blocking. I think that's true to your personality, and we love that.
Daniel, I want to ask you about Darren Waller. I know he hasn't been there long, but has there been a wow moment for you in practice? And from a schematic standpoint, what can his skill set bring to the offense that the Giants might have been missing last season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, my first wow moment with Darren was when I met him last year at tight end U, and it was just like, wow, this guy's a lot bigger and faster than I thought. Like, because obviously I see him a lot on film. I'm like, this is a big human being, and it's like him being that big and be able to move that fast is just rare. And so just that was kind of my first wow moment, was seeing him in person the first time last year, and it was just like, yeah, I get why this guy, when he's healthy, is a top three tight end, because he's an unreal athlete. But then just in OTAs and actually watching him work, and being able to talk to him off the field and seeing his work ethic off the field, kind of just, it really pushes me to be better. It pushes me to kind of want to mimic what he does, and it's like how he can get open against a guy that's a lot smaller and maybe a lot faster than him. But then you see his speed, and it's like, no, he's probably got to step on him too. So he's a guy that can threat the field vertical. He's a guy that can stretch the field and open things up, not just for myself for underneath, but different receivers. And I feel like we have a lot of weapons this year, and definitely the number one thing is we have a lot of speed. The speeds, I feel like, going to stretch the field and stretch the defenders that are just going to open up things that are going to help us throughout the year. And Darren, he's not just a great player, but to me at least so far, he's been a great leader, a great person, and I'm excited to work with him just because he's got a lot of insight on things that aren't just football related, and I think he can help me especially a lot with the mental side of the game, the physical side of the game, and how he prepares. Because I've already talked to him several times, like just these last few weeks, like hey Darren, like how do you prepare for training camp? Like, are you going nonstop 24/7 for like a whole month before training camp? Like, are you taking some time off mentally? Like, what is it that makes you an elite player? And kind of just learning from him as that process goes is helping me a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when I referenced that Kittle interview earlier when he was talking about tight end U. He mentioned that he thought the fastest tight end was Darren Waller, which wasn't that surprising. But then he also said he was the strongest tight end, which I don't think a lot of people may give him credit for. I'm sure you've seen it up close that he's got a lot more strength than people realize there. I want to get you out of here, Daniel, but I want to ask you one more because it's just a fun one everyone loves talking about. And it's Daniel Jones. I want to hear if you got any good stories about Jones, either like back with Eli, it was always like he was doing the pranks in the locker room. I don't know if that's Jones's personality, but maybe if not, if it's like a moment you felt like he made you a believer and like we could have something special here.
Yeah, he doesn't do too many pranks or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think for me at least, when it kind of opened my eyes, like not only is this a guy I want to get behind, but this is the leader that I want to be with. Is when I first had strained my quad back, I think right before training camp last year, and so I had treatment every day, and my mindset was be the first one in there, get the treatment done, so I can be ready for get ready to go. And every single day I'd get there like 5 a.m., 4:45 a.m., and every single time his car was there first, and he was always the first one in there. And so it's like in my head I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to beat this guy in. So I try to get there at 4:30, 4:15, and he's still in there before me. So it was just those moments where it was like, okay, yeah, this guy's work ethic is unreal, and he's just a leader that you want to play for, and it's like just watch him in the weight room. He's the first one and the last one in the weight room every day, first one and the last one on the field every day. And it's like, if I ever need extra work, he's always open to it. And it's just crazy because it's like his car is always the first one in there, no matter what, even if he has to get treatment or not. And so it's his leadership, and I say work ethic, that kind of made me like, okay, yeah, this is the guy. I'm glad I'm with this guy.
Awesome.
One
Daniel.
quick last question, Daniel. Yeah. Who was the hardest blocking assignment that you went up against this last season?
The hardest, I'd probably say Hassan Reddick was
Okay.
was a good one. He's a guy that he's so quick. So in my head, it's like, okay, I need to, maybe be a little more passive on this play, be more under control so I don't get swim moved, and he'll go right through you. And then it's like, all right, now he's gonna come right through me. All right, I'm gonna go right through him, and then he swims me. So it's like he's just a guy that, and there's a lot of them, but they're just quick guys that I need to learn from, and I'm excited to get after it again this year with him. So.
Yeah, man. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time today. This was pretty awesome, and we're really happy to have you on. Hope you have a great rest of your offseason. Obviously, we'll be looking forward to watching you in training camp.
All right, man. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.